Welcome back, second grade. Today's lesson is Module 8, Lesson 8. We are halfway through our last module. Can you believe it? So today's lesson is for Friday, May 15th. Today is UPrep Spirit Day. It's the last day of your Spirit Week, so if you have been participating, today is your last chance to send a picture of your UPrep Spirit gear to Mr. Cowan for a Grower Teen Point and a raffle ticket. Please check out our Facebook page, so UPrep Facebook, for an announcement today to hear who the final winner is for our K2 raffle. Few reminders before we get started. You can join me today, so Friday, May 15th at 12 p.m. to participate in math review. This will be a really good opportunity for you to join me and review for your mid-module 8 assessment that opened today. Please send a picture of your math homework from Monday and Wednesday to me this week, so pages 16 and 56 from May 11th and May 13th. Again, if you haven't gotten a chance to get on iReady Math yet, when you are done with your assignments for today, you can log on to iReady and make sure that you complete at least 45 minutes. Lastly, you can log on to edgeelastic.com and scan your Clever badge to get started on your mid-module 8 assessment. Make sure that when you log in, you are scrolling all the way through the list to find this assignment. I will also have another video posted for math review that you can study before completing this assessment. You have 2 weeks to complete this test, so it does not have to be done today. You can log on at a later time to complete it. Our objective today: I can interpret equal shares in composite shapes as halves, thirds, and fourths. So in our last lesson, we started talking about the fractions halves, thirds, and fourths. Let's continue our investigation. Our agenda for today and materials that you will need: make sure that you have your week of May 11th remote learning packet in front of you. And we are going to do a sprint test, application problem. You will follow along for your concept development. Make sure that you have a pair of scissors with you if you plan on using the paper pattern blocks, or you can use pattern blocks online using this website. Lastly, we will do our problem set together for our concept development, and then there is no homework today. You will just be expected to complete your mid-module 8 assessment online. If you would like to follow along with me, I have a timer set for you. Remember that you have 2 minutes to complete your appropriate core fluency sprint test. So make sure you choose the appropriate set that you should be on. If you have not yet gone through all the problems on set A, you will start on page 91. If you have gotten a 100% on set A, you can move on to page 92 for set B. And if you have gotten through both of those first sets, you can do page 93 set C today. Again, you can text a picture of your achievement and send it to me for a Grower Teen Point. 2 minutes on the clock, pencil up, on your mark, get set, go. Turn to page 94. Follow along for the application problem. The students were making larger shapes out of triangles and squares. They put away all 72 triangles. There were still 48 squares on the carpet. How many triangles and squares were on the carpet when they started? I have a question. More or less? Do you think there were more or less than 72 triangles and squares on the carpet at first? Look back in the story to prove your thinking. Fist ready when you know. Ready, go. Rock, paper, scissors, show. There were more than 72 triangles and squares on the carpet at first, because there are 72 triangles and the rest are 48 squares. We want to know how many shapes were there in all. Think about your number bond that you could draw to help you solve this. What is missing? Do we have a missing part or a missing whole? Tell me. If you said missing whole, you are on the right track. Good job. We want to know how many triangles and squares there were at first. At this time, you can pause my video and complete your work. Remember to include picture, number sentence, and words. Please check over your work with mine. Remember, you should have added 72 plus 48. There were 120 shapes on the carpet when they started. Let's complete our problem set together today. Turn to page 98. If you are using your paper pattern blocks in your packet, make sure you cut those shapes out at this time so you have them ready to go. Or if you would prefer to use digital pattern blocks, you can go to that DieDax website and use those tools too. Question 1. Please take out one rhombus. My rhombus is the pink shape. Next, please use one pattern block to cover half of the rhombus. I give you 3 choices here: triangle, square, or hexagon. Which pattern block will cover half of the rhombus? It's a triangle. Give yourself a thumbs up if you said triangle. Then write down that shape name. When you are done writing down your answer, draw a picture of a rhombus formed by 2 halves. So this is going to be 2 of what shapes to make the rhombus? It's 2 triangles. So this is showing 2 halves equals 1 whole. So it's making up that whole rhombus using 2 halves. Draw your picture like my 2 triangles. My question for this is, how can looking at angles and sides help you find the block that is half of a rhombus? Take a look at how I traced the sides of the rhombus or that triangle. So when I look at the shape of those sides and angles, those angles look a lot like my triangle. They are not sticking out like a square, and they're not in the shape of a hexagon. They look like the shape or angles of a triangle, so that helped me out. Question 2. Please take out one hexagon. The hexagon looks like my red shape. Next, I want you to choose one pattern block to cover exactly 1/2 of the hexagon. Will it be a triangle, trapezoid, or rhombus? Say the name of your shape when you know its name. You should have chosen a trapezoid. A trapezoid covers half of the hexagon. Next, I want you to cover that whole hexagon using 2 trapezoids. This represents 2 halves. Please draw a picture of the hexagon formed by the 2 halves. Once you are done drawing, I want you to cover the bottom half of the hexagon with 3 triangles. So take away that bottom trapezoid, and you need to cover the bottom now with 3 triangles. Is the bottom half still covered? Why or why not? Is it showing 1 half still? Yes, half of the hexagon is still covered with the 3 triangles because it is taking up the same amount of space as the top half with the trapezoid. So even though we're using different shapes to cover half, that whole share is still equally covered. Next, I want you to take away 2 of your triangles, and you're going to fill that space in with a rhombus. So we are covering the bottom half with a rhombus and 1 triangle. Then I want you to tell me, is it still half covered? The answer is yes, half of it is still covered. The shares of that half look a little different, but it's still halfway covered. Question 3. Let's use the hexagon again, and instead of covering half of it, I want you to see which pattern block can cover 1/3 of the shape. Can you name the pattern block you use to cover 1/3 of a hexagon? Is it a triangle, trapezoid, or rhombus? You should use 1 rhombus to cover 1/3 of your hexagon. Next, cover the rest of the hexagon using more rhombus. Then draw a picture of what the hexagon looks like, formed by 3/3. How many thirds do you need to fill the whole hexagon? You need 3/3. Now, I want you to cover 1/3 of the hexagon using 2 triangles. So take off 1 of the rhombus and fill in the empty space using 2 triangles. Is the hexagon still 1/3 covered using the triangles? Yes, it is still showing 1/3 of the hexagon being covered using the triangles. What fraction is not covered with triangles? 2/3 is not covered by triangles. Question 4, I need you to take out 1 trapezoid. Trapezoid is my green shape here. Then cover 1/3 of the trapezoid using 1 other shape. You should have used 1 triangle to cover up 1/3 of the trapezoid. Next, draw a picture of the trapezoid formed by 3/3. So what would that look like? It would be 3 triangles formed to make a trapezoid. These 3 triangles are showing 3/3. Next, I want you to use your drawing of the trapezoid with the 3 triangles to discuss what or how many small triangles would make up a whole hexagon. So remember, a hexagon has to have 6 sides. How many triangles would you need total to make a whole hexagon? How many triangles do you see forming that hexagon? 6 triangles. Now think back to the trapezoid. How many thirds were in the trapezoid? 3 thirds. Question 5, starting on the next page. Please turn to the next page. You need to use 4 pattern block squares to make one larger square. So take out 4 squares, and I want you to move them together to make a larger square. Then draw a picture of what the square looks like. Next question, shade in on your drawing one of those squares, one small square. Each small square is one blank of the whole square. Is that shaded square showing 1/2, 1/3, or 1/4? Circle your choice and then write it on the line. It is 1/4. Next question, shade one more small square. Now, 2 blank of the whole square is shaded. Is it 2/2, 2/3, or 2/4? It is 2/4. So 2 out of the 4 small squares is shaded. And 2/4 of the square is the same as 1 blank of the whole square. So what is the same thing as 2/4? Is it 1/2, 1/3, or 1/4? It is 1/2. 1/2 is the same amount as 2/4. Next, we are shading in 2 more small squares. So I shaded in 1 more, now 2 more. Blank fourths is equal to 1 whole. So our whole square is shaded in now. How many fourths is that? You should be counting the squares. 4/4. Our final question. Take out one hexagon. Use one pattern block to cover 1/6 of the hexagon. So that means there should be 6 shares in our hexagon, and you need to find a shape that covers 1/6 of the hexagon. What pattern block did you use? You should have used a triangle. So if I took out 6 triangles, it would perfectly cover that hexagon. Then draw a picture of the hexagon formed by 6, 6. So we're drawing it using 6 triangles. Let's review. There are blank thirds in the trapezoid. Show me on your fingers how many thirds? 3. 3 thirds is in the trapezoid. There are blank thirds in the hexagon. How many thirds do you see? 3. 3 thirds. Are there more thirds in the hexagon or in the trapezoid? More thirds in the hexagon, more thirds in the trapezoid. Both have the same number of thirds. Point to your answer. It was the third choice. Both have the same number of thirds. So even though each of those shares look like different sizes, they are still showing the same amount. So 3 thirds equals 1 whole. So both have the same number of thirds. What fraction of this trapezoid is covered by the purple triangles? 2/3. What fraction of the hexagon is covered by the orange trapezoid? 3/3, 1/2, 2/2. Point to your answer. 1/2 is covered by the orange trapezoid. What fraction of the hexagon is covered by the purple triangles? 2/2, 3/3, 1/2. 1/2 is covered by the purple triangles. That is it for our lesson today. You do not have any homework to complete. Your job at this time or this weekend is to complete your mid-module 8 assessment. So this is our halfway point test to see how you're doing during your remote learning. Remember that you need to go to edulastic.com, scan your Clever badge, and then scroll through the assignment list until you find a picture of this right here, grade 2, module 8, mid-module assessment. You can watch my review lesson to study before taking your test on Edulastic. So you are not required to start that test today. You can still study before taking.